You may be asking yourself, why have the Office of National Statistics suddenly decided to manipulate excess death data? I have worked my way through the full report so that you don't have to. And the top line is manipulating data right now after decades of counting it in a certain way. The way that these trends flow after the pandemic now is completely abnormal. And finally, there is a pile of 40 to 50,000 dead bodies, excess deaths, that are now just being swept away, forgotten. You're supposed to walk past them and not notice them because according to the ONS, those dead people no longer exist. That's the top line. Before we go further, can I just say, and I never apologise for myself. I don't have any caveats. You don't like what I say. You're offended by what I say. You own all of that. But I am no statistician. I have an economics degree. I did statistical modelling as part of my economics degree, but I am not a statistical expert, and I pride myself on that because I have a personality. So where I am wrong or incorrect, or you have something to add, or you want to tear something apart that I've said, please do. Please put it in the comments. I'm just giving us a starter for 10 because I did this work, so you don't really have to be doing that. So the first thing is this decision to manipulate excess death data at this time. February 2024, the document is Estimating Excess Deaths in the UK Methodology Changes, February 2024. And they put out a very dull looking lady to say basically nothing to see here. You don't need to look at this. This is just us making sure it's much more accurate than it used to be. And everyone goes, oh, yawn, yawn, so far, so boring. In the report itself, they use language to put you off. Quasi-poisson regression model. So a semi-fishy regression model. Either they're laughing at us directly or this is an actual statistical model. But either way, expected number of deaths involves fitting a quasi-poisson regression model to aggregated death registration data, yardie blah. So trying to put you off with language and indeed the use of the data sets and statistically how those are being manipulated. But the headline is manipulating excess death data after decades of counting it the same way. Now we're going to count it differently. And if you imagine this as a real dead person, this is a dead person that was counted as an excess death, a death that was more than the number than would be expected. Obviously, if you need to make this disappear like magic, you have to count differently. You have to say, well, when we're counting bodies, we're only going to count in twos now. So that therefore this one doesn't count because until there's two of them, they don't count. That's basically what this report is doing. It's changing the way things are counted to make excess deaths disappear. There are specific details in here that are really odd. So removal of data sets. So if I can explain in the pandemic, individual weeks and months that were affected by the immediate mortality impact of the pandemic are removed under the new methodology. So under this new methodology, we're just removing excess deaths. We're just deleting them so that they don't affect the baseline mortality, but just excess deaths being removed, full stop. They were counted and now they're not. So later on in the report, figure 1, weekly estimates of excess deaths in the new method are consistently lower than those from the current method 2015 to 2019. So now if you take the period 2015 to 2019, the new methodology makes it such that there are fewer excess deaths. I'm just looking on an annual basis. This is 2019 now. The new estimate says negative 34,408 excess deaths. That is fewer deaths registered than would be expected throughout the UK in 2019. This is where this weird abnormality really starts kicking in. So historically, back in the decades, a lot of these graphs are following the same trajectory, the same pattern. And you would say, well, a new methodology, yeah, but it's more or less following the same shift. Not in 2019. In 2019, in the world of yesterday, the way we measured it, there were 6 6,006 to be precise, excess deaths, right? So in 2019, there were 6,006 more deaths than would be expected at that particular year, given all other things being equal. Now, with the new magic calculation system, guess what? There's negative 34,408 deaths, excess deaths. A difference of negative 40,415 excess deaths. By counting differently, in 2019, the ONS now says a pile of 40,415 excess deaths doesn't exist. That is literally what this report under figure 1 shows you. 40,000 plus people just disappeared from excess deaths. And that is laid out as well in a table format. So that the current method 6,006, new method minus 34,408. And you look at it and it's almost like all of the madness of COVID, right? Where you look at things or hear things and you go, no, sorry. You can wear your mask, till you get in, but once you sat down, you can take it off. You know, when you just go, no, sorry, that doesn't sound like it makes any sense at all. Well, nor does this. During and after the peak of the pandemic, however, estimates from the new method are generally lower than those from the existing method throughout the latest year, 2023, by an increasing amount. Here's the other weird thing. So not only is there the weirdness of 2019, where suddenly 40,000 dead bodies aren't there anymore, they've just disappeared. Once you hit 2023, the model does really odd things. They start to be lower than the old model, but by an increasing amount. So the model isn't even, you know how if you had, you were watching something and it had a flow to it, so you'd expect trends upwards and downwards. When you hit 2023, it's almost like this thing, I'm epileptic, so I can say, has a seizure and it starts acting really strangely. The new method, generally lower, so fewer excess deaths because we're just ignoring excess deaths suddenly, by an increasing amount. Statistically, it's odd that a constant model would produce these kind of strange reactions. I'm trying to speak this in a way that makes sense, but I hope that I'm not failing you. On an annual basis, the new method estimates 76,412 excess deaths in the UK in 2020, compared with 84,000 via the current method. And so it goes on. And then you reach 2023, which we were just referring to. So 2023, under the current method, under the method that we had until 10 minutes ago, excess deaths in the UK in 2023, 31,442. And that, of course, you start to talk numbers and you start to hear numbers and you start to get turned off to the whole thing. That's dead people. It's not just dead people. That's dead people who shouldn't have died. So it's excess deaths, deaths that are more than the number that would be expected. People are always expected to die. But last year, over 30,000 people died that shouldn't have. We weren't expecting. Something strange happened to all of those people. Under the new method, guess what? Suddenly, in 2023, only 10,994 people died that shouldn't have. Well, don't let me be the one to ask, where did 20,000 dead people go that shouldn't have died? They've just disappeared. So in 2019, they made 40,000 people who died, who shouldn't have died, disappear. And in 2023, they made 20,000 people who shouldn't have died disappear. Poof, just like that, magic, into thin air. And then it tries to explain it away. So in section 5 of the report, it tries to say, why that happened, that now we're going to start to take notice of the fact that because the population grew, all else being equal, we can expect more deaths to occur. And they start to throw things at you, other changes to the methodology that might account for this. Include the treatment of periods substantially affected by coronavirus and using a here we go again, quasi-Poisson regression model to estimate the number of expected deaths in each. All of a sudden we get the difficult language coming in to explain away why in 2023 we're supposed to not notice that 20,000 people who died when they shouldn't have now aren't being counted. And you can carry on and look at the rest of this report for yourself. It basically, if I was to say it in complete layman's terms, there is a pile of bodies that shouldn't have died that no one can explain and no one's trying to. Rather than someone like the British Heart Foundation trying to explain why there are 40,000 people dead that shouldn't be in 2019 and why there is 20,000, well actually 30,000 excess deaths in 2023 that shouldn't be there, rather than anyone try and explain this, what they've done instead is change the way it's being measured. Make that pile of bodies disappear, so that no one has to answer the question of why are so many people dying unexpectedly. Rather, change the way we measure the number of people dying, so no one has to answer to it. How long can that sustain for? And how bonkers is it that everybody is supposed to go, right, okay, yeah, sure, we changed the methodology, so those dead people now aren't dead by surprise, they're dead because we knew they were going to be dead because we changed the way we measured it retrospectively. It is beyond bonkers. It is more bonkers than ever that it's called quasi-Poisson, semi-fishy, because it's certainly that. It's no laughing matter. And if I could just say one last thing, it would be that in my heart, and of course heart and statistics don't go side by side, but if there's one particular thing that distresses me the most about the whole COVID lie, it's not only that we lost our faith in anything to do with the medical profession and lost our faith in all people trying to tell us things. We no longer believe anyone telling us anything. It's the treating of people, ordinary people, my people, people like me, ordinary, treating people like they're stupid. And that's the bit that really gets me, and that's the bit that motivates me to not stop. It is so disrespectful to treat people as if they're stupid, because people are not. And people can see, I might not understand the statistical modelling or the quasi-Poisson model fitted, retrospectively. I can understand when a massive fudge is being put in place, and I can call out all the people who are complicit in that lie, the charities, the governments, the people, the funders, the science, the drug companies, all the people who can't explain why so many people are dying unexpectedly and who are preferring to hide in the lies of this statistical manipulation. Okay, please add your comments under here. Please correct me. Please go on to explain different parts of this report. Please call me out where I'm wrong. I hold my hands up already and apologise. But if you take one thing away, take away for certain that you don't have to manipulate data unless you can't explain it away. And rather than try and find a medical explanation for excess deaths, the people that are lying to us would rather change the way they measure these deaths and then change it in our past as well. These, my friends, are dark times indeed.